peptides are freaking everywhere right now. And the top 5 that everybody's talking about are not the 5 that actually matter most. Your feed is full of them, Reddit threads, TikTok clips, even people self-injecting stuff that they bought from who knows where. And the problem isn't that peptides don't work. It's that nobody's telling you which ones actually matter and which ones are pure hype. So today, I'm gonna rank the top 5 peptides that are genuinely changing medicine right now. And I'm not just listing names here. I'm gonna show you how to actually maximize each one, because the peptide itself is only half the equation. I'm Dr. Jones, DC, and I coach patients daily across our nationwide telemedicine and GLP-1 peptide clinics. These exact peptides, healing, metabolic, and the rest, they're very powerful tools. And this passion of mine comes from not only my own 100-pound weight loss journey, but the fact that I've been able to radically transform my health. And now I get to work alongside our medical practitioners helping people like you do the same. Every single peptide on this list can be a game changer or a complete waste of money. And the difference isn't the molecule, it's the plan. So for each peptide today, I'm not just gonna tell you what it does, I'm gonna give you the key to maximizing its effectiveness. That's the framework, what it does, who it's for, and how to maximize it. And if you stick with that, you'll know more than 90% of people experimenting with peptides right now. Now here's what makes this list different. One peptide on this list most people have never even heard of, and it might matter more than all of the others combined. I'll reveal that one, of course, after we cover the big 3 categories that most people actually need. And then there's one peptide on the list that is my most controversial pick that I almost didn't include. But before we get to those, let's start with the category that's already changing medicine as we speak, and what almost everybody is getting wrong about it, because if you get the first one wrong, the rest of the list won't save you. So let's start with the obvious ones, GLP-1 medications. That's Semaglutide, Tirzepatide, Ozempic, Wegovy, Mounjaro, Zepbound, and then Retatrutide. This is the category that's already proven. Millions of people are on these medication peptides right now, and for good reason. They freaking work. But here's what most people get wrong about them. They think the medication does the work, but it doesn't. The medication gives you a window. It quiets the food noise. It turns down the cravings. It buys you time. But what you do inside that window, especially rebuilding insulin signaling and metabolic flexibility, is what determines whether this is a 6-month miracle or a 6-month rental. Let me give you an example. I had a patient, Tony. She came to us after 8 months on standard Tirzepatide protocol somewhere else. It was the cookie cutter approach. They kept escalating her dose all the way up to 10 milligrams. She was nauseous, brain foggy, always cold. On paper, she lost 35 pounds. Sounds great. I know she was pumped about that, but then we had her do a DEXA scan. It's basically a body composition scan that shows fat versus muscle, very different tissue. 15 pounds of the weight that she lost was actually pure muscle, not fat. Now that's an extreme end. Studies show 25 to 40% muscle loss is more typical, but that's exactly the point. Without monitoring, you don't know where you fall. That's roughly 90 fewer calories burned per day at rest. And over months and years, that metabolic gap, it's gonna compound and make maintaining weight loss dramatically harder. She wasn't just losing weight, she was shrinking the engine that actually keeps it off. So here's what we did. My medical practitioners did a medication reset, got her back eventually down to 5, built an actual foundation, 150 grams of protein, resistance training 3 times a week. 6 months later, Tony had gained 8 pounds of muscle and lost 10 pounds of fat. That's a completely different transformed body, and she weighed about the same. Better results on a lower dose of her GLP-1. That's what maximizing GLP-1 medications actually looks like. And here's the thing, GLP-1s aren't standing still, they are evolving. So I wanna show you guys something here. Okay, so we have Semaglutide. This is the OG, okay? So this is Ozempic and Wegovy. GLP-1 medication started here. They didn't really start here, but this is where they really grew very popular. Semaglutide is a GLP-1 agonist. It targets one receptor. Very powerful. You take it once a week, life-changing. And this is why the celebrities and just the overall GLP-1 awareness grew. But then we had Tirzepatide. And honestly, we don't even recommend Semaglutide, rarely. I mean, look, Semaglutide over no GLP-1, I'll do that all day. But Tirzepatide, that additional receptor, the GIP, it's a game changer compared to Semaglutide. Better results, better fat loss, more muscle preserving, at least when you look at the mechanisms and what I see clinically, and the side effect profile, it's more tolerable. So I think the reason why we're noticing better results on Tirzepatide is because that GIP receptor actually exists on the fat cells, and therefore you get more fat mobilization, which is going to produce better results. But then we got the king, as you guys probably know, Retatrutide. Now look, Retatrutide's not FDA approved yet, but that hasn't stopped. Well, I'd gather hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of people using it already. It did have some recent phase 3 trial results come back. Looks very promising. This one's probably gonna be FDA approved late 2026, maybe early 2027. Now, The reason why my providers are still comfortable using it is because we have unique cases. What makes this one interesting is it's very, very targeted for liver fat. And if you don't already know this, liver fat is very correlated with insulin resistance, fatty liver disease. So if we can get something that's targeted, still has all the benefits of GLP-1 GIP, but it provides additional metabolic benefit. This is what makes Retatrutide the holy grail, in my opinion, and that's why the results definitely show. But here's where I need you to hear me. More targets doesn't automatically mean better for you. Retatrutide is powerful, but like all drugs in this class, it can raise heart rate by 5 to 7 beats per minute. So checking your heart health first matters, especially if you have pre-existing heart conditions. Not cardiovascular disease, but heart arrhythmias and heart rate-like issues. So what happens when you stop? What's the question that everybody's afraid of? And the answer depends entirely on what you've built while you were on it. If you just rode the medication without fixing your metabolic foundation, yeah, the weight's coming back. But that's not what we do. In our clinic, we don't escalate over and over and over. We optimize the foundation first, then find the lowest effective dose, the sweet spot that maintains results. Many of our patients maintain on microdoses, tiny maintenance doses, because the medication isn't doing the heavy lifting anymore. The metabolism is. So the key to maximizing GLP-1s, it's not the dose, it's the foundation that you build underneath. You get that right, and the medication becomes an amplifier instead of a crutch, because you're no longer fighting unchecked insulin resistance and inflammation issues the entire time. Now, if this foundation piece is hitting home to you and you're realizing that your current approach might be missing the mark, this is exactly why we offer free discovery calls where our patient educators can look at your specific situation and help you figure out what might actually be going on. You can either text the number on the screen, or you can check out the link in the description if you want to explore that. But right now, let me keep you going, because the GLP-1s handle appetite, but appetite is only half the equation. What about repair? What about healing? And that's where the next two peptides come into play. And there's a lot of confusion about them. Let me break this down. The two peptides that the internet is most obsessed about right now, BPC-157 and TB-500. And look, I get the hype. In our clinic, we use these peptides with patients every single day for healing and recovery. They are legitimate tools, but the amount of confusion around them is staggering. So let me help simplify it. First, BPC-157 body protection compound is derived from stomach juices, and the animal data on tissue repair, gut healing, and inflammation, it's impressive. And we see patients reporting accelerated injury recovery, improved gut issues, reduced inflammation. That's tracking with what the research suggests. But here's what nobody on Reddit is going to tell you. Dosing strategies can be all over the map. And you need to understand there are no large human-based studies yet. And there are tons of dubious providers out there. Now, does that mean it doesn't work? No. I've already shown you and explained that it does. The clinical observations are real, but you need to make sure that you're doing this correctly and you find the right manufacturer. Second, TB-500. TB-500 is a fragment of thymosin beta-4, meaning it's only piece of the full protein. And that matters because research on the full protein doesn't automatically apply to the smaller piece that you're actually buying. So does TB-500 still work? In our clinic, we see patients report things like improved blood flow to injured areas, reduced inflammation. So its effects are potentially more targeted than what thymosin beta-4 research shows. This is why we pair it with BPC-157 regularly, and the combination accelerates healing in ways that neither one probably does alone. Now, if that distinction right there just changed how you think about these peptides, hit that subscribe button right now, because we put out 4 videos per week breaking down peptides, GLP-1 strategies, and overall health strategies to help you be very successful when it comes to implementing these strategies. Now here's the big one, the thing that's got a lot of my attention lately, and that's sourcing. So the difference between pharmaceutical grade BPC-157 made strictly under 503A pharmacies, which is a regulated compounding pharmacy, and whatever you find online for half the price or even less, it's not a small difference. It's the difference between something that works and something that might be underdosed, contaminated, or just flat out fake. I've seen patients come to us who have tried compounded BPC from some random website. Nothing happened, we switched them to verified sources, we increased the dose, same peptide, and suddenly it's working. That's not placebo, that's quality. Now listen, I understand that not everybody's gonna be able to work with a clinic like ours that's sourcing 503A. And I get that, I'm not here to judge that, but at the bare minimum, make sure you're using a company with a proven track record that has third-party tests for their products. That's the floor, not the ceiling. So the key to maximizing your BPC-157 and your TB-500, it's not just about taking them, it's about knowing what you're actually getting and having a clinical team monitor how you respond. Unsupervised use with unverified products. That's the real risk, not the peptides themselves. Now, speaking of the right way, GLP-1s handle appetite. BPC-157, TB-500 handle repair. But there's a third piece that most people are completely missing: energy at a cellular level. And in about 30 seconds, I'm gonna tell you the name of the peptide that most of you have never even heard of. This is the one that I teased about at the beginning, and honestly, it's the one that excites me the most. And that one's called MOTS-c, and it's a mitochondrial peptide, meaning that it works on the mitochondria, your cell's energy factories. So here's why it matters. Think about it this way. GLP-1s solve the appetite problem, they quiet the food noise, they reduce food cravings, and that's powerful. But what about the other half? What about the people who say, my appetite is fine now, but I still have zero energy. I still can't get through a workout. I still feel like my body's running on fumes. That's not an appetite problem, that's a cellular energy problem. And that's exactly what MOTS-c targets. MOTS-c functions as what researchers call an exercise mimetic. Basically, exercise in a bottle. It turns on some of the same internal switches that exercise actually turns on, specifically the AMPK pathway, which is like your body's main metabolic switch. It improves insulin signaling, meaning your body listens to insulin better, enhanced mitochondrial function, which is how well your cells make energy, and it helps your body actually use fat for fuel instead of just storing it. Now think about what that means when you combine it with a GLP-1 medication. GLP-1s handle the input side, appetite and cravings, the food noise. MOTS-c handles the output side. Cellular energy, fat utilization, you're addressing both halves of the equation. That's not just weight loss, that's metabolic transformation. That is maintaining muscle mass and burning fat. Now, if you want me to make a video completely breaking down how we sequence MOTS-c with the GLP-1s in our clinic, the dosing, the timeline, who's a candidate, who needs different peptides first, like SS31, let me know in the comments if that would be helpful to you. Now, here's the part that nobody talks about. You can't just start taking MOTS-c and expect results. There's an order of operations problem, potentially, and I'm gonna break it down for you, so it's not a problem. So MOTS-c induces a stress component to your cells. That's how it works. But if your mitochondria are already damaged or compromised from years of metabolic dysfunction, autoimmune issues, or chronic inflammation, addressing more stress to broken machinery may not always help, and it could actually make things worse at times. So in our clinic, for patients whose mitochondria aren't working, we might start with something like SS31 to target mitochondrial repair. It helps patch up the inside of the mitochondria so those energy factories can actually function again. Now, once that baseline is restored, then we layer in MOTS-c to optimize the pathway. The logic we follow is simple. Repair before you optimize. You don't put premium fuel in a broken engine. That sequencing insight, SS31 first for compromised patients, then MOTS-c, that's the kind of thing that you don't get from Reddit threads. That comes from working with patients every single day. My providers and myself and my coaches, we're actually seeing what happens to patients when we get things right and sometimes when things are wrong. So the key to maximizing MOTS-c is sequencing. So make sure the foundation is there, make sure your mitochondria can handle the signal before you send it. Let me know in the comments below, which peptides have you actually tried? What did you notice? What are you still confused about? I'll jump in there and share what we typically see in our clinic with those exact peptides. So we've covered appetite, repair, cellular energy, but there's one more peptide on my list that speaks to where medicine is heading. And it's the most controversial one, and this is the one that I almost didn't include. This is Epitalon. And the reason why I hesitated isn't because it's not interesting. It's fascinating to me, actually. I mean, when you talk about longevity, this is the definition of longevity. It's because it's the most polarizing peptide in the entire space. People either think it's the foundation of youth or they think it's Russian fairy tale built on rat studies. So here's what the research on Epitalon suggests. It activates an enzyme called Telomeres, which is a helper protein in your cells, and it can lengthen your telomeres, which are the protective caps at the end of your DNA. And think of your DNA like the instructions. Each of your trillions of cells has instructions, and that's why the cells know what to do. So think of your telomeres like little plastic tips on your shoelaces. Every time your cells divide, those tips get a little shorter. When they get too short, your cells just stops functioning properly, and that's aging at a cellular level. Now, why telomeres correlate to cellular aging? I have no clue. That's fascinating stuff, and that's literally on my multiple things to study list. But we know that, at least at this point. Now, the preliminary data on telomerase activation from Epitalon is genuinely fascinating. There's research suggesting that it can influence that shortening process, and that concept, a peptide that could support cellular aging and increase health span, that's not science fiction. There's real promise there. Now, this peptide isn't as established as the other ones on this list, but I included it because this is the direction that medicine is heading. The outcomes are incredibly exciting, and I see this peptide becoming more and more common. And look, if the foundation is there and you want to experiment with this peptide, I think you have a relatively safe decision to make there. And that's exactly why the framework we've been using today matters so much. Look at what we just walked through. GLP-1s, proven and powerful when you build the foundation first. BPC-157 and TB-500, real clinical utility when sourcing is right and someone's monitoring you. And then MOTS-c, potentially game-changing when the sequencing is right. And then Epitalon, incredibly exciting, very early, and experimentation, if you're ready for that, I support that. But this is all why supervision matters. You see the pattern, every single peptide on this list, from the most proven to the most experimental, shares the same truth. The molecule is only as good as the plan around it, the source it comes from, and the clinical team making sure that it's actually working the way that it should. Peptides are tools, powerful tools, and I believe that they're going to be as mainstream as creatine by the end of the decade. But tools without a plan are a little dangerous, potentially, and at least money wasting. And tools with the right plan, they can change lives, and I see that every single day. Now, if you made it here, what surprised you the most, or what are you most skeptical about from this peptide list? Let me know in the comments. I'm genuinely curious about what landed differently than what you expected. If any of this hit home for you today, the GLP-1 Foundation, the sourcing questions, figuring out MOTS-c fits, or should you do SS31, or just wanting a real plan instead of guessing on your own peptides, this is exactly why we offer our free discovery calls, where you'll speak with one of our patient educators. They're gonna walk through your history, what you've already tried, what's working and what's not. And they're gonna go over your long-term goals, and then they're gonna walk through how our team, myself, our coaches, our medical practitioners, can help put together a real protocol built around your specific situation. And then they'll cover programs and pricing so that you know exactly what long-term success may actually look like. You can either text number on the screen, or you can check out the link in the description if you want to explore that. Now, if you're curious about my most recent update on peptides that I would recommend to completely stay away from, then you need to check out this video right there. We'll see you guys later.